Hey, welcome back, you guys, to Queen's Roots. My name is Queen Mother. I am your spiritual and metaphysical teacher. Here on my channel, you guys, I guide you along your spiritual journey to reconnect you with who you really are, and to help you to understand your purpose as a spiritualist, and how to show you how to use those metaphysical tools to co-create the life that you want to live, so you can be the person you want to be. Right, you guys, in today's video, this is a very dear to my heart, and I really wanted to make sure I put a message out to encourage my people out there. So this is not to be offensive to anyone. This is not I'm not going to touch on any other cultures. I am specifically going to be talking about my Black and brown people here in the United States. So if you can relate to the video, please comment down below that you can relate to this video. If you cannot, and it's just not your type of tea, you know, please log off of the video or come back for the next video. It may be better fitting for you, but this video is specifically to my people. Now, I may get a little bit off topic with this video, but I'm going to stay because I have my trusty notes that I'm going to be using. You guys, I use notes in every video because I can go off topic quite often, right? All right, so here's the deal. I feel sometimes ashamed at the fact of, I really feel like I should have a necklace on with this. Would be nice. Growing up, I feel like Christianity was shoved so much down my throat, and other of my fellow African American friends from my generation and my parents, that we've kind of disassociated honoring our ancestors. And I fell in love with the Day of the Dead, and I think it's pronounced De los Muertos. De los Muertos. I think that's what it is. I'm so sorry if I'm jacking it up. I know I'm jacking it up. I just don't know where my phone is to kind of figure out how to say it. But I fell in love with the Mexican cultures, Spanish cultures, day of honoring their ancestors. And I remember as a little girl, I would see like the Indians, you know, how they honored their ancestors. I would see how the Asian cultures honored their ancestors and their deities. And I remember asking my mama, like, do we have anything like that? And it was like, no, we didn't have it. And I don't know how it is for other Black and brown people in other countries, but I know here in the United States that we don't have anything like that. And it was very disheartening to know that, other than going to a funeral and wearing white, that I had no way to really honor my ancestors. I had no way to really connect to my roots. And in all honesty, a lot of us didn't know who our ancestors was. We didn't have any connection spiritually with our ancestors because we were taught to let that go. Now, this is excluding the people who grew up in the Ifa traditions. This is excluding people who grew up in Santeria or grew up with voodoo or hoodoo, because a lot of those deal with acknowledging their ancestors. So for me, as an African American here in the United States, growing up in the South, we did not have that. And there are other people who just probably, if it wasn't for Christianity, they were taught that African spirituality in any of its forms was evil, it was demonic, it was wrong, that they would go to hell for it. And you know, it was just wrong, because the biggest part of that is acknowledging your ancestors and working with the beautiful orishas or deities. In voodoo, the Loas are known as their ancestors. European culture likes to make them as if they are deities, but they're not. They're truly your ancestors. They are your ancestors that transcended to be the Loa to help you on the spiritual side. So I can honestly say that as an African American woman growing up in the South, to see every culture have a beautiful way of honoring their dead, honoring their family, keeping those family bonds together, teaching each other about each and every one of their family members, it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful, and I wanted that. I didn't know until I was in now I didn't know until a few years ago that we can actually honor our ancestors. And I remember I used to just ask and ask and ask, and I was asking the wrong people, first of all, because if I had asked the right people I would have been known this, but I was asking the wrong people. But I didn't know, like, we didn't have a way to acknowledge them, and I just really wanted to say, okay, well, can I celebrate, is it de los Muertos? The day de los Muertos. Okay, I'm gonna stop jacking it up. The Day of Dead. I was like, can I just celebrate the Day of Dead with just my ancestors? And I was just like, no, I feel like that's cultural appropriation, because that's not my culture. You know, that's not my culture. That's not who I am. That's not who my family. I'm pretty sure they have a bunch of rituals or celebrations that go with that day and preparations for those days, but that just wasn't my particular who I was. And I didn't want to feel like a fraud, you know, taking from someone else's culture, you know, like other people do. But you know, I didn't want to feel like that and taking their culture and using it for my advantage. So when I did come across knowing that we can honor our ancestors and understanding how, you know, this really connected with me, because I always had a strong connection with my ancestors, especially I would always like know when they were getting ready to pass. I would always love being with my elders, so I just knew I had that connection with them, but I didn't know like what it meant or what it was. So I wanted to make this video to kind of encourage my Black and brown people, even if you are in a Christianity faith or a Muslim faith, to honor your ancestors, to find a way to acknowledge those that came before you, whether you like them or not, but to acknowledge their efforts to be, you know, of being here. I like to tell my daughter this quote that I found. I cannot remember who it's from, and I still have no clue where the hell my phone is at, but it said that, do you know, oh wait, it was from what is that movie my kids always have me watching? What's the name of that movie with Oprah and Ellie, with the girl and the boy, and then they go to the other planet to rescue their dad? Oh, A Wrinkle in Time. Okay, anyway, so The Wrinkle in Time, Oprah tells the young girl, she says, do you know it took, oh shit, let me do this again. Okay, you guys, so I can't find the quote and I'm gonna jack it up, but anyway, it went like, do you know what all had to happen for you to be here in this moment? Or maybe it's not from The Wrinkle in Time, I don't know. Okay, so anyway, do you know like everything that had to transpire for you to be right here in this moment, in this space, in this time, you know? So that's how I look at our ancestors. Like, they had to go through so much to be here. Like, you know how many people had to get together to be together, overcome odds, you know, take care of you just to make sure that you were here in this day and age. I had I guess it was a dream. I don't particularly know quite yet, but I don't feel like this was a vision, but it definitely was. I think it was a dream. But I had a dream where I was interacting with one of my ancestors who was a slave, and it was like a time travel. I guess it was a dream. It was like a time travel, and I traveled back in time, and I was getting ready to try to go home with a group of people, and then we were trying to like run before the slave masters came. And there was one particular ancestor who I knew she was my ancestor, and she was leading with us. And I remember we were trying to go back to our timeline, and we got stuck in the era with the I don't want to sound stupid. We got stuck in the Jim Crow era, and so I think that's the right way to say that, but you know, where the segregation and all that stuff was happening, we got stuck in that area. And I remember like we couldn't figure out what happened to make us go home to the right time frame. And then I looked at her and I said, you were supposed to stay, because she left with us because she was going to be raped that night. And I had to tell her, and I was like, I'm so sorry, but you have to go back, because if you don't do that, if I know it was like a tragic thing to you, but I'm a product from that, you know, like if that incident doesn't happen, then I can't be born. It was like 4 or 3 other people who stood up with me who was affected by her, from her lineage. It was a Chinese man, a black man, it was me, and it was an Indian guy. And it was like, yeah, if you don't do this, then we won't be here. And I was like, that really sucks to know that she had to go through something like that. So, you know, I say all of that to say this: I want to honor our ancestors. They did so much for us to be here, and I think it's important that we find a way to acknowledge them. Even like I said, even the ones you don't like, even if you don't care for them, you know, or whatever, we have to find a way to acknowledge our ancestors. If you can still be a Christian and still set up an ancestor altar and still go to your ancestors and acknowledge, you can still put their pictures up, just especially because a lot of families nowadays, they don't know who their relatives are. They don't know about their great-grandparents. I was so blessed to have lived with my great-grandparents. Like, I remember my mom's grandparents, and I remember my grandfather's parent, one of his mom, or his mom. I remember her mom, and I remember apparently my grandmother's grandfather wife. Like, you guys, I grew up knowing her. She wasn't my blood relative, but she was someone that he ended up marrying, because mine had deceased and died in like childbirth and stuff like that. But I grew up knowing this lady until I had to have been about 7 or 8. I was very conscious and aware of her death. So you guys, it's just so much. Like, our ancestors are so beautiful, and I don't want us to continue to add to the fear of embracing them. If you can go to cookouts and family member, you know, cookouts and gatherings, find a way to honor your deceased. Find a way to celebrate with them, because their lives matter. They're the reason why all of you guys are here. So much, our history is taught to us so incorrectly. And when you look at why, you know, us here as African Americans in the United States, this excludes those who grew up with those practices, but if you look at it, we follow the traditions and the culture of Europeans, those Caucasians that were here, because they don't honor their ancestors. They don't, other than building racist statues that they did, they don't really honor their ancestors. That's why there's no holiday for ancestral, you know, acknowledgement or celebration, just like it is for every other culture. They have a day where they celebrate their culture. They have a day where they celebrate, excuse me, their ancestors. So we don't have that. Which is why we continue to follow the Europeans' way. When they were here, those settlers, we didn't have that, and they don't have it. They don't do it. So we didn't have it, you know, to take on with us. So acknowledging your ancestors, it empowers you, you know. It really causes you to wake up. And I don't mean in a sense of being woke and all this other stuff, you know. I just mean it really empowers you. When you start to see and understand the levels of which racism and police brutality and the systematic injustices that's been going on, to poverty, how much of our ancestors have had to fight through all of that, then it's also going to start making us change. Like, okay, we have to start pushing for these changes. We have to, because if I'm still going through the same BS that my great-great-grandparents was going through, and it's a little bit better now, because I can at least walk down the street without being, well, I don't know if I can say that, but you know, it's a little bit better. It's a little bit better, but I want to make it so that way when my future generations come and they have to call on me, they can say, okay, you know, that group, that time frame, those ancestors from that era, they made these changes for us. We don't know where tomorrow is going to go. We don't know where it's going to lead. But if you start acknowledging your ancestors, once you become one of those ancestors, you're still going to have that foundation where you taught your family members how to acknowledge and honor you, to help you heal, to do all of these things and transcend. Like you're setting a foundation so that way you can benefit from it as well when you get to be an ancestor. You know, so it's really important that as a culture we start to understand and embrace our ancestral roots. And I don't mean just leading back to slavery. And I know for a lot of us, slavery does in the known connections that we have to who we are and where we're going, you know, or who we were. So, but for a lot of us, we can still connect. Even in the spiritual world, we can connect past all of those titles, all of those events. We can still connect to them. So I want to really encourage all of you to do this, and I'll give you a couple of reasons on why it's beneficial to acknowledge your ancestors. For one, we talk so much about the BS that we go through with our ancestors, our family, all of those family curses, incest, drama, whatever. You can heal that, and you can heal that with your ancestors, and you can break those chains. You can do all of that through ancestral work. If you are a Christian or a Muslim or a spiritualist and you don't want to take the necessarily working side of it, and I mean like by doing spells and things like that, then you can still talk to your ancestors and figure out how to heal and give to them. These are your family members. The second thing that you can do, like I said earlier, it does help you get an understanding of who we are, where we came from. Your ancestors will speak to you and they will tell you their stories, and you'll get to know, like, you'll get to meet relatives that you never knew about, you know. And listen, I told you guys in another video, I love when my ancestors come to me and I get to call my grandma and be like, who is this? Like, oh, please tell me more about their life. Like, I'm so fascinated, tell me. And she can tell me who they are. So if you have that ability, use it. Know more about your family, because it's going to come a time you're going to be the mouthpiece for your family. You're going to be the one that's having to answer these questions for your grandkids and great grandkids and nieces and nephews and things like that. Teach your family by allowing these traditions and stories to go on between the family, not just family drama, the good stuff. Allow it to flow down, these traditions. Another thing that will help you with this, a good reason for helping you to embrace your ancestors, is just unlocking your powers. A lot of us everybody has psychic powers. Now, I'll get into that in another video because I'm not going to sample on it, but everybody has psychic powers. But when you find that your bloodline is known for specific gifts and you have those specific gifts, and because they were taught out of those gifts, you can start unlocking those gifts. And I am a living witness that I have gifts that's opening that I didn't even know. Like, where in the world did this come from? But when I start talking, then I'm finding out, oh yeah, your grandma used to do this, your great grandma was like this, oh yeah, your uncle, your great uncle, he used to do that all the time. And it's kind of like, wow, we had these gifts. I had my ancestors even tell me the children in my family who had the gifts, and you know, different messages that they were giving to me for these kids. So it is absolutely freaking amazing that you can unlock your powers. And I don't mean just psychic powers, I just mean your power in being who you are as a black man or woman, being the power to like come together, heal your family, empowering each other. That power, the power of love, you get to unlock it and be a part of it when you acknowledge these ancestors. They need healing too. They have to heal from the trauma and the BS they experienced on this world, this earth. We got to help them through it, because that's where those generational curses come from. That's where those habits, because it's nothing but habits that keep being embedded, and the energy is still going, because we're not breaking those chains. We're not healing these people. We're not healing ourselves. We're just taking it and breathing it in and breathing it in and breathing it. You gotta break it. We have to honor our ancestors. If you don't do anything else, celebrate them on a day, like a day of Thanksgiving that we celebrate. Set a plate for your ancestors and candles at the table, and acknowledge those who came before you. If you want to do it on you know, birthdays, or some people do it at weddings and things like that, honor your ancestors, because if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be here. You know, if you choose not to get fully immersed in ancestral work. then that is a good way to kind of just get started with acknowledging your family members. Okay, say their names, love on them, teach your children about who these people were so they know who these people are, especially when they start coming to you. Like I said, me, I'd be like, who is this person? Now I know who these people are. So if they come to my children who are, you know, one of them have medium skills, they'll know who this is. Yep, I know who that is. I know who's coming around. So all right, you guys, I'm definitely hope you guys, my black and brown people here in the United States, can start to acknowledge your ancestors. You know, this is a real big way of awakening to who we are and our power, and it's coming with our culture. Don't turn it off. Don't deny it. It's not evil. There are people literally out here making careers out of it. You know, I don't see too many black mediums without working in the spiritual world, but I see a lot of them on TV, and I see a lot of them, you know, we see them. So if they can do it, then you can do those same things with your. All right, you guys, so that is it for this video. I hope this video is inspirational to those. I hope I didn't rattle off too much, but I hope this finds a place within your hearts to kind of just help you to unlock your ancestral spiritual connection with them and help them. You don't have to always help them heal, but if you just want to sit down and just at least honor them, you know, set a place at the table for them and honor them, that is more than enough. Show your family some love. Even in death, show them some love. You don't have to go to their grave sites and leave flowers. You can do it from the comfort of your home. Honor your ancestors, welcome them into your home, love them. When you're done, tell them they gotta go home. Just be like, you ain't gotta go home, but you gotta get up out of here, right? That's our favorite line, right? All right, you guys, in love and light, you ain't gotta go home, but I'm logging off, so you can get caught up on any of my other videos if you want to. But in love and light, I hope you guys have a beautiful and prosperous day. I love you. Bye.